Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in the words of the Chazon Ish, Emunah Ubitachin. We're speaking about the very lofty midas, the character traits that a person could acquire, and as we'll see today, that he needs to acquire if he wants to succeed in the world of Limud HaTorah, learning, and Avodas Hashem. Kav dak mistareya bein hachachma v'hasichlus. There's a very thin line that runs between wisdom and foolishness. And that fine line will not allow a person to enter in to the chamber of wisdom because he's getting too confused with the sichlus, with the foolishness which is there. However, when a person has refined eye and vision, and they have alizas haneshama, a joyfulness of the neshama, of the soul, which the Chazon Ish is learning is what is a refined character. Machekes as kava chaytzeitz kalil. It ends up erasing that separating line. Umesilas hachachma, the fun of the mishor, and then the path of wisdom is laid out in front of him. And then you could end up getting to chachma. If you're clueless over here as to the levels of your neshama and the midas that you have to have and the refinedness of yourself, so then between wisdom and sichlus and foolishness, you won't really be able to tell. However, once that you have that vision that you're supposed to have, so then it becomes very clear, the separating line, and you erase the chachma from the foolishness, and then the path of wisdom is laid out in front of you. However, unfortunately, man is compared to a wild donkey, meaning the man who does not have refined character traits. And he's rather this person who's teetering on the line of wisdom and foolishness. And he is uncouth in his behavior and his activities and the like. How do we look at him? He is a wild donkey instead of a human being. Asher asar bezikei hataiva kiyomi valdoi. And he is still bound by the shackles of his desires of his taiva, just as he was the day that he was born. A child comes into this world. Are they thinking about ruchnius? Are they thinking about spirituality? Are they thinking about becoming humble and not being arrogant, giving instead of taking? No. A child comes into this world, all they do, their hands are open and they're trying to grab everything they possibly can. And they're only thinking about themselves. And they cry because they're hungry, because they're uncomfortable, because they're disappointed. They're not looking how to be a greater person, a better person, a more refined individual. That's not the nature of a child. A child is completely consumed with their selves and their needs and their taivas and their desires. Someone who is an adult in this world and yet is still struggling with the foolishness and they're acting like a wild donkey, they're no different than they were when they originally came into this world, whether it be 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. They could still be in an infantile stage. Raduf mamtakim, they're chasing after sweet things. Re'ev ta'anugim, they're starving for pleasures. Ragzan tamidi, they're constantly angry. Look at a child. Look how angry and frustrated a child gets. They're always screaming and yelling and crying. When you see an adult who gets angry constantly, and he screams and he yells and the like, you're looking at a grown-up baby. That's what the Chazon Ish is saying over here. Malei gaiva, filled with gaiva, with arrogance and haughtiness. Gam imchunan b'kishon hachachma b'kisfunas nishmaso. Even if he was endowed with the talent of wisdom in the way that his soul is made up, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him that ability and that propensity for chachma. Nevertheless, maybe even a double portion has been prepared for him on the table of understanding. However, this person, in all of his adultness, he has not left the world of the infantile stage of just wanting and grabbing and looking only for themselves. And therefore the underdeveloped human being who is lacking in the world of Midas, as we will see in the Chazon Ish Yas Hashem tomorrow, he's going to be lacking in so many areas of his spiritual wellness and growth. To be continued, Be'ezas Hashem. Have a wonderful day.